here for the city council meeting?
I am, sir. Hey guys.
So I noticed you guys took the HC gas off of the list. Is there any other items you guys discluded from the list since our last meeting at the Cops and Coffee meetings? Hey, officer. Do you have anything to say about our last encounter? Officer Dion?
Have a good night, Robert.
Oh, we're gonna play the smooth and silent, then he's gonna say my real name. I've never told you my real name before. How'd you know that? It's because you guys talk about me. Have you had any training or discipline since you murdered John Hernandez in 2017?
You're all a bunch of gaslighting pieces of shit. You're perpetuating harm on your constituents. Eat shit.
Okay, nice to see you again.
Love you, Carol.
Alright, Tuesday, September 13th. We're here at Sacramento City Hall to meet about the Sacramento Police Department's military use policy. Got our buddy Dion here again. Hey Dion. Hey, officer. So that's Officer Casey Jones Dion. Would you have a little ice cream? Granola parfait. You here for the city council meeting? Do you have anything to say about our last encounter? Officer Dion?
Have a good night, Robert.
Oh, we're gonna play the smooth and silent, then he's gonna say my real name. I've never told you my real name before. How'd you know that? It's because you guys talk about me. Have you had any training or discipline since you murdered John Hernandez in 2017? You know he's brain dead for life now. How you doing? That's crazy. So that's the third time I've seen Officer Casey Jones Dion. How you doing?
Sir, good. How are you?
All right, you here for the city council meeting?
I am, sir. Hey guys.
So I noticed you guys took the HC gas off of the list. Is there any other items you guys discluded from the list since our last meeting at the Cops and Coffee meetings? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of, sir.
Okay.
But I'm sure we're going to ask in here and you come in and there'll be lots of questions
Oh, yeah.
asked in here.
Oh, yeah.
All right, my friend.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome.
The issues we'll be discussing tonight are matters of great public interest, and undoubtedly they will elicit a lot of passion and maybe even controversy. And, you know, this is the chamber and this is the forum to have those discussions.
Will this work? has put me in the position of being harassed and harmed by your department for quite a long time. Whether that's bike cops calling me and my son's name out at a park, parking out in front of my house or my hangouts, Norm Leon, before his promotion, beating me with his bike for saying kids in cages matter, and Edgerton holding a taser to my body so long I have permanent scars on my chest. Well, I bring these things to your attention again because it helps demonstrate your department's harm to this community and speaks to their willful ignorance as to why 481 exists in the first place. You can see it as they continue to toe the line that they wouldn't call this military gear, and why one officer at Coffee and Cops said the 1,200 people who said they don't want SAC-PD having these things don't know what they're talking about. Well, we do, and it's y'all's negligence to be willing to admit the harm they caused is why we're here and why 481 exists. Requirements 1 through 4 are severely lacking, and this policy reflects a dereliction of your duties and SAC-PD's.
Your public outreach on this issue was very poor. I didn't know nothing about it. I mean, the police chief and the deputy police chief do a better job doing outreach. And how many people were injured during the George Floyd protest or even earlier on the Stephon Clark protest? I mean, they just shoot people, peaceful protests at random. I don't support this.
Buenas tardes. Good evening. Manuel Barajas, professor of sociology at Sac State, co-founder of the Center on Race, Immigration, and Social Justice. I want to encourage you to demilitarize the police.
I am speaking to you this evening to urge you to prioritize safety and transparency for our community instead of criminalization and harm. The Sacramento Police Department military equipment policy as written will neither increase community trust or public safety. In fact, if you approve this military equipment policy as is, you will be mismanaging the crucial funds that can instead be used to address the teacher shortages, deteriorating public infrastructure, and mental health services required to create lasting community safety in our communities.
The text of AB 481 specifies the explicit intent to prevent a situation such that law enforcement is seen as an occupying force rather than a public safety service.
We are urging the City Council to reject the proposed military equipment use policy and instead adopt a policy that prioritizes transparency and safety in our communities.
As has been pointed out by the ACLU and the Civil Rights Education and Enforcement Center of Northern California, while there have been positive changes to the Sacramento Police Department's proposed revised military equipment use policy, it still does not comply with AB 481 and is still lacking critical specificity in the contexts it designates as appropriate for the use of military equipment.
Good evening, City Council members. I'm a peace activist and a concerned taxpayer, because I realize that the military-industrial complex has convinced our federal government to engage in lavish spending on the military, and I'm concerned that they will be using their influence to have you engage in lavish spending as well.
We have a long suggestion list from the Sacramento Community Police Review Commission that they think is required under AB 481, and that the police say, no one can tell us what to do. So, indeed, I cannot, but you can. So after months of frustration, I am turning to my elected representatives to ask you if you would please direct the police to go back to the Community Police Review Commission and work with them until they get a text that will satisfy both.
I'm the Vice Chair of the Sacramento Community Police Review Commission, and I'm calling upon you all to make additional changes to the military equipment use policy to ensure the police department's compliance with AB 481. As it's currently written, it most likely does not comply with AB 481's minimum requirements, and I believe it's imperative to ensure AB 481 serves as the floor and not the ceiling for police transparency and accountability to the public.
And I'm here to share my experience with Sacramento Police Department. I'm 35 years old. I own a home and a brick and mortar business in District 4. I think it's unfortunate that I have to disclose this information as if those things would make my story more valid. But there is this false narrative that the only people that are hurt by SAC-PD are lawless, which simply isn't true. The culture of brutality among the Sacramento Police Department must change.
and a concerned resident of Sacramento who is urging you to oppose the military equipment use policy as it is written today. The policy as it is written is out of compliance with AB 481, which was created to protect our community from the harmful impact of military equipment.
Obviously, it feels like the police department, particularly Norman Caffey here, forgot why 481 came into existence. The weapons that they used on my body, on the body of people that I love, on the body of young people in Sacramento, so many young people in Sacramento. I don't know if y'all went out to those actions, but just so many young people, so many beautiful young people trying to express how they felt. And Sac PD came out with violence, and that is why we have this state law. And we need to find compliance, actual oversight, actual scrutiny. We need you to take this opportunity, responsibility, mandate from the state to use your actual oversight power to have scrutiny. Ask the hard questions. Get the use justifications, okay? We do not need more rubber stamps for a violent, racist police force who finds its legacies in slave patrols and union busting.
Hello, my name is Marshall Arnwine, and I work for the ACLU of Northern California as our legal policy advocate. I'm calling to oppose the police department's policy as written and urge City Council to reject the proposal today.
We want our police to have a guardian mentality, not a warrior mentality. We need policies and procedures that recognize the danger implicit in the use of weaponry and provide thoughtful guidance in minimizing risk. First of all, the use report at the end of this document, meant to show the military equipment usage, does not list how and when and where the equipment was used as required. If Deputy Chief Leong can say them, you can write them in the report. The report is not complete yet. There are reasons to put off approving this today. Errors and omissions mentioned already, and there are more, need to be fixed before approval. Again, there's much danger implicit in the use of weaponry among a civilian population, and every detail must be carefully considered.
It's very obvious that you have not listened to the same constituents that you will go and look for to get those votes when it's time for you to be reelected. Some of you are looking to be reelected in November. And so it is imperative that you hear what the people are saying. There are a list of things that you could spend that money on instead of militarized equipment. Let's try increase in salary for our teachers. How about hiring some more teachers? Let's try putting air conditioning in the school districts that don't have air, where the kids suffered during this heat spell. There are so many more things that you all can do with that money. Let's try homeless. Let's try getting some housing, affordable housing for those senior citizens that are losing their places to stay, those family members that are still homeless today. Why are you spending more money on militarized equipment? It is as though you know something that we don't know. Is there a war that you're going to be waging against your people? Is there something going on that we don't know? And it's evident based on the history of your use of the militarized equipment that you improperly use it and you don't follow your own laws. It is imperative that this city council, this mayor, review this material and do not vote in favor of it tonight. Thank you.
I'm calling to oppose the Sac Police Department's policy as written, and I urge the council to reject it today. The previous speakers have done a really good job of detailing the specific ways in which the police department is not in compliance with the law, and they've also reminded us why that law exists in the first place. And if it's not clear to the council by now, after listening to the public comment, that the police department has not met the requirements in AB 481, then I'm afraid the council wasn't listening carefully enough. And because it's not in compliance, you must reject it.
Sac PD continues to use passive language as they discuss this, and that to me is incredibly scary. And it's something that my friends in the media should remember. You know, when Norm talks about introducing pepper bullets, into a vehicle, ask yourself what that actually means, right? When Norm attacked Mac with a bicycle, would he call that her just being introduced to a bicycle? I don't think so. So we really need to think about the language they're using, and we really need to think about the city council that is voting yes or no on this.
I'm calling today to ask that you reject the proposal set forth by the police department with regards to their ability to harm minorities in the city if those minorities dare to get out of line. Community engagement is required by AB 481. It was not earnestly engaged in. Use of equipment is required to be outlined. Many instances cited are years or decades old. Transparency is required. Transparency isn't there. Their effort was paltry at best. The community engagement that was cobbled together after the community complained about this item being on the consent calendar and it not meeting the requirements of compliance with AB 481 should be enough to drop this. This item needs oversight, and no, you aren't a viable option as they would have you believe. You are not independent. Many of you receive their dollars from SPOA. This necessarily inhibits your ability to be independent as you work at their behest solely, especially when they can threaten your political career by painting you as anti-law and order if you dare to step out of line with compliance with their directives to you. The community needs actual oversight from the Police Review Commission, independent oversight from the communities most impacted by their bad behavior time and time again. And back to community and community engagement, what I heard and saw were thoughtful community members who objected to our police force being militarized, referencing studies that point to worse outcomes for police and citizens when police are militarized and start seeing themselves as the heroes, and citizens start seeing themselves as an occupying force that can be as dangerous to those they claim to want to protect as they are to criminals. They said they listened to community and modified language such as including but not limited to language, but then included a blanket qualifier earlier that says the same thing and covers all equipment. This is why we need an independent commission who can review what they say to ensure it matches with what they're doing, from people who know what they're doing. This is the peak of not being accountable, not wanting to be held accountable, and not expecting to be held accountable. And we don't need more of that, or we could be the next George Floyd, as we were with Stephon Clark, Daryl Richards, Joseph Mann, and with each new incident inciting more anger, more frustration, and more calls for radical change. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Ashby?
Yes.
Councilmember LOLOEE?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Valenzuela?
No.
Councilmember Schneider?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra?
Aye.
Councilmember Jennings?
Yes.
Councilmember Vang?
No.
And Mayor Steinberg?
Yes. All right. Thank you. That concludes, thank you to the members of the public and to the police chief and the department. Appreciate it. Okay.
You're all a bunch of gaslighting pieces of shit. You're perpetuating harm on the constituents.
All right.
Eat shit.
Okay. Nice to see you again.
Love you, Daryl.
Thank you. That concludes, thank you to the members of the public and to the police chief and the department. Appreciate it. Okay.
You're all a bunch of gaslighting pieces of shit. You're perpetuating harm on the constituents.
Right.
Eat shit.
Okay. Nice to see you again.
Love you, Daryl.